Welcome, my friends. You are on Mavs Coffee Clarity with Denise. Every week we're spilling the beans. It's a business show designed to help you move forward in work, love, and life. Who doesn't need that? If you just found me, welcome. And if you're a regular, welcome back. This is where I interview some fascinating people from all walks of life, from known to not so known, entrepreneurs, creatives, performers, athletes, business people, forward-thinking people that found the silver lining in their fiascos and their challenges. It's business intel and life hacks designed to move you forward. We're spilling the beans. Right here on Mavs Coffee Clarity. Unedited, authentic, short formats. Why? That's stuff we do. Thanks for listening, liking, sharing, and subscribing. Find out more about me and my favorite services that can easily go. Please do it after the show. Hey, my friends, we are on location. That's right, we are here at Ventfort Hall, Gilded Age Museum. Ooh, Jacobean style. You see us, right? I'm actually videotaping us today so you can feel it. But we're with the incredible director, the executive director, Wendy Healy. Welcome to the pod, Wendy.
Oh, so glad to have you here at Ventfort Hall. Thank you for having me on your show.
I am thrilled to be not only back, but to know you. And you know, what I want the audience to understand is you have a wealth of business experience, creativity, moxie, resilience, and you have quite a vision for this Gilded Age Museum. And I'm so glad to be part of it and here to, so on this show, as you know, what we're going to do is we're going to ask you some questions and we're going to want to get some of your business intel to help others move forward. So tell us how you got started. I know you've been in finance and business, entrepreneur. Give us the lowdown, Wendy.
Wow, the lowdown.
I'm going to sip my tea. Wendy said no coffee today, Denise. You have to have the tea.
I know, we're famous for our Victorian teas here at Ventfort Hall. So
delicious.
When you're at Ventfort, you drink tea. I'm an Army brat. I got started, I was an English major. I didn't really have a lot of direction, like a lot of English majors. I think, like all good English majors, I got my first job at the mall. I was like, oh gosh, what am I going to do with my life? I had no idea what I was supposed to do. And I kind of fell backwards into banking. And I thought, well, if you can make a banker out of me,
well, you need to have good English lit behind you to be a banker. I mean, it's a good foundation for communication.
I think the thing about liberal arts is that it really prepares you for speaking, communication, interpersonal skills. It is a really great, people put liberal arts majors down, but truly I was clueless coming out of school. I didn't know what I wanted to be. But also, thinking about it, being an Army brat and moving around so much really taught me to be adaptable. And so I think between that and being an English major with no clue who just kind of landed into banking, I realized that I had to adapt to my circumstances, right? So I'm a people person. I know how to speak. And what was really, what I ended up being good at in banking was translating financial concepts to understandable concepts to
the average Joe,
right?
Hates bookkeeping.
Like this is why it's really important for you to pay off your credit card before making an investment, for example.
Okay.
Like
there's a little business intel there. Right. That'll bring your credit score up, right?
Absolutely. Well, also because you need to take care of short-term debt before you deal with long-term investments. You have to, cash is the foundation.
We do have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen, so that's really good advice.
Cash is the foundation of your financial well-being. And when you talk about stocks and bonds and all of that, more sophisticated investment tools, those are more those come later after you have a solid grip on the cash situation. But cash is the foundation, and as long if you're in debt, then I didn't expect that we would be talking about finances, but anyway.
No, because you know what,
it's important.
even starting up this new little show with all the other things I do, you want to start it up debt free, because the debt will follow you.
Absolutely.
And then the debt creates stress, and
Yes.
stress does not allow for creativity.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're about. Like, how do we move forward? So, low debt. Now, again, we're in a very creative venue. So now you're this financial person with a lot of knowledge that understands how to make things work. How long did you stay in banking before you got over here?
I was in banking about 25 years,
Mm-hmm.
and in all different aspects. So I was on the front end waiting on customers, but I also did marketing. I also was in the technology side.
So you touched on all areas.
On all different areas.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really...
Why do I think that's boring? Is it not boring? It feels boring to me.
What, banking?
Yeah, banking. When I hear banking, I go boring. But you're making it sound exciting.
Yeah, well, I think that is kind of what my superpower has always been, to take experiences from one piece of my life and apply them to another part of my life. And that's how I leverage.
So like transferable skills for our
Right,
audience.
exactly.
Like find out what you're good and where you can use it somewhere else.
Exactly.
And that's how you got over here to Ventfort.
Right, exactly. So that same concept, during the pandemic, or right before the pandemic, I had left the bank, and so it was really hard to find a job during the pandemic, and I was doing a lot of different things, but I knew I wanted something that was mission driven and something that spoke to more the artistic side. Being an English major, I did love telling stories, and I loved history, and I loved art, and but I also had these skills, the finance and the business management,
the best of the both,
strategy, and all of that. And so when Ventfort Hall came along, I just said, you know what, I know how to do that.
You can transform it.
Right.
You saw it. You saw it in your mind.
I saw it, and so even some of those concepts, like taking care of the cash situation, like people say to me, do you have an endowment at Ventfort Hall? And we do not have an endowment. People think, how are you taking care of that place? Well, it is a restoration in progress.
Right.
And we our job number one is to complete the restoration, and so
with no endowment.
Right, we have no endowment. Well, and we can't build an endowment until we're done with the cash flow. We need to finish funding that,
right,
and then build the endowment.
So what I'm hearing is like you were like in a major career pivot. We never talk about age on Mavs Coffee Clarity.
Absolutely.
Because every age is fabulous.
Absolutely. It's never too young or too old to pivot.
Right. So you're in this big pivot. You have a big project here. I don't know, my friends. I want to just tell you a little bit about Ventfort Hall. Actually, Wendy should.
Yeah.
I feel like I know about it more
Yeah.
because I've been here, but for a few times we had a show here and whatnot prior to today's podcast. So this was J.P. Morgan's daughter's.
His sister, Sarah. Yes. So J.P. Morgan's father, Junius, is the one that groomed J.P. to be the banker financier. And when he passed away, he left Sarah Morgan, JP's sister, $1 million. Of course, JP got all the rest, which is kind of not fair.
We're still making 79 cents.
I know, right? Kind of not fair. But Sarah did get $1 million, which in 1890
was quite a bit.
Was quite a bit. And so she used a portion of that money to build Ventfort Hall as her country estate.
All 28,000 square foot.
Right.
Summer cottage?
Yes. Yes. The summer cottage was defined by Mrs. Astor to be 20 rooms and 20 acres.
Wow.
So by that definition, there are about 70 of those that were built in Lenox and Stockbridge during the Gilded Ages, the Gilded Age, and most of them are still standing. And we're one of them, and one of only 4 that are museums that you can come into to tour and learn about the history.
No chance that they were bankers and you were a banker. It was like the
I know,
ethers
isn't
were
that weird?
speaking. Woo! It's like you knew.
I know. But
So you're in the middle of this career pivot. Were you nervous?
No.
No.
I'm
shocked.
not.
I know the audience is like, really? So you made a 360. Were your friends like, Wendy, you're a nonprofit now? What is happening? You're over there renovating the museum?
No,
You had no pushback.
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's
Honestly, I didn't script this with her, my friends.
It's so well, in a way. Okay, so bankers. You may not know this about bankers, but
Is this
we're
bankers
sort
in
of
town?
yeah. I mean, bankers are always encouraged very strongly by their employers because it's the right thing to do, and they sort of have to become involved with the communities that they serve.
Of
So
course.
during my entire banking career, I have always worked for worked with nonprofit organizations on a volunteer basis.
Mhm.
So early on, it was just chambers of commerce or the JCs or other organizations like that. But most recently in the Berkshires, I was the board president of WAM Theater, which is a phenomenal feminist theater group that has an activist mission to help women and girls. And
I didn't know that about you, Wendy.
yes, and I also was board president at Berkshires, which is our local
Food bank?
currency. No, it's a local currency. Did you know we have a local currency
There Wendy
here?
goes again with her secret
Right?
banking knowledge.
Right?
Shares?
Yeah.
What is that?
Berkshires, right? Yeah, we have our own currency here in the Berkshires. Berkshires are a phenomenally rich place for nonprofit organizations. We have probably more nonprofit organizations per capita than anywhere else in the country.
Wow.
And we even have our own nonprofit organization called the Nonprofit Center, which serves
The nonprofits. I know about that.
Liana Tuscany.
Yeah, Liana runs that beautifully, doesn't she?
Absolutely, she does a wonderful job.
Mm.
So I have a lot of experience with nonprofit organizations, and so I think people understood and saw me going through this sort
Well, they
of
were already on your
transition
side.
to a real, really, the pandemic changed a lot of people, I think, and really made people do a lot of self-examination about what was important in life. And I'm not saying that banking isn't important. It certainly is. It's a function that everybody has to have. Everybody has to have a bank. But I just needed to do something that I could see where I was really making a difference. And Ventfort Hall was just an opportunity for me to use all of the skills, to really culminate all of the skills that I have gained through my professional career and do it in an environment that also really speaks to my heart and soul and my passions, around the arts and culture.
So when did you start? Like, when did you officially start? 'Cause I just met you last year.
Yeah, I started December 5th of 2022. So I've just been in my role just over a year. Of course, I got off to a little bit of a slow start due to some medical issues. I know you're aware. I was in a bad car accident at the end of January of 23. So
you start the job and you get in a car accident.
I was in a bad car accident.
Well, that's a fiasco.
Yes, I broke 12 ribs and my clavicle, and so
What?
yes,
I didn't know it was 12 ribs.
yes, all of my ribs on the my back left. I was laid up for quite some time while I was convalescing from that. But I mean,
How did you keep your vision in a new job when you had 12 ribs and broken and convalescent?
I don't know what they must have thought of me.
There's not enough coffee in the world to cure that for me, Wendy. Seriously.
I know. I mean, I think I don't know what they thought of me. They were like, oh my gosh, we just hired this executive director. And they had been working on a interim executive director for a couple of years, and it was just kind of, I think, very disheartening for the organization. But I just
How long were you out?
I was out for about 3 months. I didn't come back full, in person until April 15th, and but I was working from home, out of my chair with my laptop. But I just made it clear, I am coming. I will be there. And
So
I
for the
told my
people that
doctors, I'm coming.
Where does that resiliency or that tenacity or that verve come from? Because I'm sure people listening are like, wow, I would have called out forever. Like, where is that Wendy? Because Wendy was, I'm going to use your words, an army. Did you say army brat?
Army brat,
You
yeah.
said army brat. I didn't say that. Wendy said.
I'm an army brat. Yeah,
Okay.
well, I moved around all.
So is that where did this, like, I'm going to get up and be back come from? Where's that verb? Like, we want the audience to understand that they can do it too.
Where does it come from?
Yeah.
I mean,
do you drink it in the tea?
I mean, I just knew that I was in the right place.
So you had a
for
feeling.
me.
Mhm.
I just knew that this was the right place for me. It was a phenomenal fit.
Mm.
It was a phenomenal fit. I mean, I wanted it bad.
Mhm.
I just wanted it.
And you did the best you could from home, of course.
Yes.
You probably had good resources here, people that were
Yes.
on your side.
Yes.
So it was kind of a full circle,
I mean-
holistic approach.
Yes. I mean, it was not easy. The first year, I mean, by the time I came back,
Mm.
It
I
was-
can't imagine.
it was high season. And I mean,
What's high season look
high
like?
season in the Berkshires, I mean, anybody who lives here or anybody who is in any way involved with the service sector understands that the tourists that come in, or the exponential increase in volume that you experience
Mhm.
is no joke. I mean, we did 103 events last year at Ventfort Hall,
Wow.
and I had not been, I mean, I was on learning curve.
That's like 2 a week, roughly.
Right, and not all of them were produced by Ventfort Hall. A lot of them were private events where people had,
Weddings,
weddings. They had,
comedy shows.
but it's comedy shows. Oh yes, and music and so many other things, ghost tours, but. It still is an impact. We still have to set the rooms, unset the rooms, get them ready for, and then just the amount of tourists coming through on tours of the mansion. So it's a lot.
I mean, normally I don't do this right in the middle of the show, but I do want you to say your website.
Oh yeah, it's gildedage.org.
And we will put it in the show notes. But why I'm telling you that now, guys, is because it's 28,000 square feet of incredibleness. And so a lot of it's restored, but a lot of it isn't. So when I did a show here in October, I had a finished room upstairs, like a green room, and it was incredible. And you can check us out if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube. The tea service here is like the authentic tea.
Yes.
And you'll be able to see a few photos. Wendy gave me like the mini version. Like everything is done almost period-esque. And you've got some of the original artifacts here from the family.
Yes, just a few. When George and Sarah Morgan passed on, the family sold all their belongings. I mean, they had many other houses. They sold all the belongings, and that was it. But we have 3, and we've been focused on restoration, so we haven't really amassed a huge collection yet, so all of our dollars are going to restoration. We have 3 special belongings. They are the 1895 Rosewood Steinway piano,
Which is phenomenal.
yes, and that came back to us just 3 years ago, so we're so thrilled to have that. That was built especially for Sarah Morgan. We have a bed sheet with Sarah's monogram on it, Sarah's SSM for Sarah Spencer Morgan, and we have a Louis Vuitton steamer trunk
Wow.
The initials GHM for George Hale Morgan. So those are the 3 belongings that we own that belong to the Morgans. Now we also do have lots of letters and photographs and things like that. And of course, the house itself has all the original, many original features. But
So I grew up in the Berkshires, and I didn't have a inkling of the amount of heritage here. It had gone through many hands, right? You want to quickly tell where it went to and where it's now?
So after the Morgans passed away, it was briefly in the hands of a family. Well, I should say there was a Vanderbilt widow that.
A black widow?
No, Vanderbilt. Margaret Vanderbilt.
And a black widow spider.
No,
please, let's keep it straight.
Well, yes, we. So there's the ghost. There's the whole ghost angle too. But actually, Margaret Vanderbilt stayed here for a month while Elm Court was being built, and her husband passed away in Lusitania. He had given his life vest to young family. Anyway, I can go. I need to go faster because there's so much history with all of these stories. Then a family named Bonsall was here, and then when they passed away, the house stayed in the family for a little while because it was the Depression and it wasn't advantageous for them to sell it. A family named Martin bought it, and the whole estate. There's a gatehouse and a groundskeeper's cottage. They rented Ventfort Hall briefly to Tanglewood for some of the performers to stay here. But it was in 1950 that Bruno Aaron bought the house because there were no accommodations for Jews and people of color to stay if they wanted to come to Tanglewood. So 50s were the
That was a
festival
dicey
house
time
era.
to do that too, right? Because he got a lot of pushback.
Yes, he did, and he used arts as activism in the most beautiful way. Festival house era, he had. He would let musicians and artists stay here and sing for their supper. So he had Dizzy Gillespie and Pete Seeger and Odetta and Lord Burgess, who wrote all the music for Harry Belafonte.
Right.
There were a lot of great musicians and artists. They had theater. It was just a wonderful time, Festival House.
How long was Festival House here? Like 10 years?
10 years, yeah. It was,
10 years.
1950 to 1959. And
What stopped them?
Well,
I hope no one ran them out
no,
of town.
absolutely not. Although
Okay.
there were incidents.
There were incidents.
Well, for instance, this room that we were sitting in, he wanted to turn it into a nightclub, and he had to go to the town of Lenox to get his liquor permit, and he was denied. And he demanded to see the file, and it said, "Oh well, we don't like the Negroes and the Jews that are coming and going from Ventfort Hall," and so he basically said, "Give me the liquor license, or I'm going to the Berkshire Eagle with this information." And so he got his liquor license. But he had to fight those types of fights in the 50s. It's just
So he was mission driven like you.
Yes.
Sort of the organization. Like there's strong roots here of like we are gonna prevail and
Yes.
fight everybody.
Yes.
And isn't it a community house now for sort of all forms of creative expression?
Yes, and that's really what appeals to me about taking J.P. Morgan's sister's house and making a place that was exclusive, inclusive. We really
Exclusive to inclusive. And that's really what Mass Coffee Clarity is about.
Right.
From knowns to unknowns, telling the stories, right? Like, who would have thought in the 50s this would have been possible? And again now.
Right.
Because this was almost sold to like a nursing home, wasn't it?
Right. That was the fate when the nonprofit organization that I work for now, Ventfort Hall Association, saved it from the wrecking ball, and it's been a
Not the Miley Cyrus wrecking ball. Just real.
The actual wrecking ball. They were going to flatten it because it couldn't be brought up to code to become a nursing home. So they decided, oh, well, we'll just demolish it and build from scratch.
Terrible.
So,
can you imagine?
Yeah, no, it was, you know, our predecessors in the association who had the vision and the moxie and the grit and determination. I mean, talk about determination. I mean, they had no money, they had no idea how they were going to get it done, but they just said, absolutely not. This treasure is not going to be flattened.
So what's your biggest obstacle right now here?
It's cold hard cash.
Cold hard cash.
Cold hard cash. Fundraising, which we are actually.
You didn't find any in the basement?
No.
No.
We, you know, as I said, we don't have an endowment, but we are. We're off and running with it.
So what are you doing? And somebody that's listening in that could be in your shoes, what are you doing to execute on your incredibly beautiful vision?
In terms of fundraising?
It doesn't matter, like what makes you you?
Okay.
I mean, you had a car accident, you're back, you're looking fabulous. You've got these incredible teas. It's always happening here. You know, when I approached you about bringing a show here, you were very open-minded. But what makes you you? Like somebody that could be struggling with a similar thing, whether it be a nonprofit or their business, like what is it? What would you tell them? Give them a little life hack.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that the secret is that, oh gosh, I mean, there's a couple of things. But I think one of the things that has been really, really helpful is collaboration. We're not trying to invent the wheel here at Ventfort Hall. I mean, all of the things that need to be done are things that have been done in the past. We just need to create a plan. We have created a plan and we need to execute on that plan. But doing it in partnership with other organizations, other people that are like-minded, is the way to go. So for example, we had we don't have collections. I mentioned to you that we don't have collections because we've been focused on our restoration. That's where we have to put our finances. We have, you know, approximately $10 million worth of work just in our current historic restoration plan that needs to be completed. There are other things beyond that need to be done as well. But when we have that much money that needs to be focused in that direction, you know, we don't have collections. So what do we do about exhibits? Oh, well, we partner. So there's the Berkshire Historical Society at the Herman Melville House. And they have, what do they have? They have a house, they have a huge collection, but they have no place to display it. So we partner with them. We had
so creative thinking,
right.
Get out of the box,
absolutely,
and reach out to your neighbors authentically in a share. Is
absolutely.
What I'm hearing. Okay.
So that's exactly what we did, and then we had a joint member party, and from that member party, we actually got a pretty sizable donor from that member party.
So be open. Be inclusive is the word from Wendy on the street. Collaborate. Be kind.
Oh yeah.
Be ready.
Yeah.
Be willing. Work from your chair.
Yeah.
Wendy, so where can people find out more about you and Ventfort Hall?
Oh, absolutely. Our website, go to gildedage.org. We're also on Facebook, and I think that I'd love to see any of your listeners come to our tour or one of our events. We've got lots of events coming up.
Wendy, it has been a pleasure being here with you this morning at Ventfort Hall Mansion and Gilded Age Museum. I'm so thankful for you spilling the beans. Wendy, you spilled the beans. Okay, my friends, peace out. Mav's got to get back to work. Find us wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud. DeniseBeaverBully.com. And if you need to learn how to communicate and collaborate, I can help you with that. Drive Media. Okay, peace out. Thank you, Wendy.